Sailed the sea, Indians lived proud and free before the oppressor's slavery. Black people live proud and free. How many more? Tell me now. How many more? Don't you stand on the sidelines and say you're not involved. Don't try to convince yourself that these problems don't affect you at all. Because now it's Lebanon, Azania, Grenada. How many more? Tell me now. How many more? Don't you stand on the sidelines and watch your children go off to war. Don't stand back and wait for this violence to come to your door. Because now it's Chile, Guatemala, El Salvador. How many more? Tell me now. How
Greetings. My name is Brother Frank, and this is the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition platform exclusive to raising awareness about our political prisoners, what we need to do, and why we need to fight to freedom, right? To bring them home to their families. So if you're tuning in right now, thank you for your time. Thank you for your participation in this serious matter. Today is April 16th, 2025. It is the 16th day of April, which is the 16th day of Jazz Appreciation Month. Jazz is part of our expression to liberate ourselves, which is to have exclusive control over our destination, to make sure that our self-determination is uncompromised. Today, I will not be alone. I'm with my sister, beloved jazz musician Joy Brown. Welcome, my sister. How you doing today? You on mute. If you take yourself off mute. While she figure that, I'll continue to talk about the importance of jazz and how it's necessary, how it's a tool for us to fight back, to us to actually document our experiences. There was two books that I made sure that I had on hand. One is Free Jazz. Joy, you on?
I think I'm on now.
Yes, yes. So I hear you loud and clear. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you, sister.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, yes, of course. We talked on the phone a number of times. We have yet to meet in person, but this is one step towards that destination that is definitely going to happen because it is necessary that all of us do our part in our liberation struggle, in our struggle to
Yes.
secure and protect our self-determination.
I agree.
So today is
100%.
the 16th of April. Is the 16th day of Jazz Appreciation Month. To have this discussion, I did my research. I got these two books. One is Free Jazz, Black Power, and this other one is How to Listen to Jazz. Through these two books, I'm able to engage more in detail about the importance and the power of jazz, how it's a tool for our liberation struggle. So just give us some background about who you are and why you chose jazz as a profession.
I hate talking about myself, but jazz happened. I don't believe in coincidence, but I didn't intend on becoming a jazz singer. I grew up in the church, the Pentecostal church. My father was a Pentecostal minister, and I was not allowed to listen to secular music. So I don't have a background in jazz. And if anything, I studied classically in college and even in high school. What happened was, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and there was a local restaurateur who used to do something for the seniors in Newark once a month. And a very dear, 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 dear friend of mine volunteered my services without my permission. And
Wow.
so, me having to sing to seniors who were from a certain era, I knew that I needed to sing songs that they could relate to. And so the popular music of their day was what we call jazz, which the correct term for it is American classical music, truth be told. So I looked up a couple of tunes and sang for them. Amiri Baraka's brother-in-law, Dwight, was there. When Dwight heard me, he invited me to a jam session. I went to that jam session. I was invited by Stan Myers, who was a DJ, a former DJ with WBGO, which is a jazz station, radio station. He invited me to his jam session. From there, one of the sisters by the name of Roslyn invited me to Jersey City to a jam session. And the great Winnard Harper, who was the drummer for Betty Carter, was hosting the jam session. From there, he said to me, because I wasn't even thinking about doing it, I was doing secretarial work. And he said to me, you should study with Barry Harris, who at the time I didn't know, but was a legend, who was a contemporary of Thelonious Monk and men of that caliber. Once I started studying with Barry, that was it. I fell in love with this thing that they call jazz. It's soul music. In fact, anything that we create is soul music, truth be told.
Absolutely.
So it went from there. From that point, I said, I want to do this. This is my
Wow.
calling. It's not even a career; it's a calling.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that because as I said, I was studying for this episode, right? And just to
Hmm.
show the connection between our political prisoners, our captured freedom fighters, and jazz, how jazz expression of our liberation struggle. And I
Oh
came across
yes.
this quote by Archie Shepp. He said, "We see jazz as one of the meaningful contributions to America. It is that certain people accept it for what it is, that it is meaningful, profound contribution to America. It is anti-war, it is opposed to the U.S. involved in Vietnam, it is for liberation of all people. That is the nature of jazz." That's
Yeah.
not far-fetched. Why is that so? Because jazz is a music itself, born out of oppression, born out of the
That's right.
enslavement of my people. When I read this quote, it immediately pressed me. It let me know that this is exactly what jazz is about in terms of utilizing it to people, to raise awareness about what's happening in our community and to our people as a whole. During that time, or what particular time that he had wrote that quote or mentioned that.
Sir, I lost you. Hello? Hello? Uh-oh.
That this is exactly what
Okay, I
it's
lost you
all
for a
about.
little bit. I
Right.
lost you
So I
for
was
about a minute.
yes, I had some minor technical difficulties, but we back on. So I had to. I don't know if you were able to hear the quote. Did you hear the quote?
I heard some of the quote from Archie Shepp, which is he's an incredible saxophonist. Uh,
Right. And I see that he had actually a song or melody towards George Jackson. So I said, wow, he knew what his role was in terms of our liberation struggle. And he put out that piece so others would be more aware of George Jackson. So in the quote that I mentioned, he's dealing with jazz is utilizing its position to address social issues. One was the war in Vietnam. One was happening in Cuba. And then overall, he said that jazz was for the liberation of all people. And I said, well, wow, that's powerful and that's important. So as we go through this month, right, and we appreciate jazz, we have to take it very seriously as a weapon for our self-determination. Go ahead, sister.
Oh, the thing about it, and I tell people, not just with music, with every true art form, we're the historians. We tell
Absolutely.
the story. Historians, they analyze history. We make history.
Yeah.
We tell it. If you look at the Curtis Mayfields, and I know we're talking about jazz, but if you look at the Curtis Mayfields, the James Browns, the Archie Sheps, the Max Roaches, the Duke Ellingtons, they were telling a narrative about a people and their struggle. And to me, that's why history comes through art, because we're vessels. We're not, when you're really true to the art form. I don't care whether it's visual arts. I don't care if you dance. It's true. You're speaking from an experience. You're not speaking from and that's when it becomes tainted, when you're speaking from your purse, when you're speaking from a political stance. But when you're speaking from an experience of a people, it means a lot. Hip hop is the same to me. It's a parallel of jazz, because it was created, it was born from an experience, from a people. It was a means of escape. It was a means of survival. It was a means of liberating a people, even if it was for 5 minutes, even if it was for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It was a form of liberation. It was a form of expression. And I think that's what makes jazz so beautiful. I love the way Archie Shepp said what he said. And I've told people, jazz is such a, I haven't, how can I put this nicely? Some of the greatest musicians, some of the most skilled musicians that I know are jazz musicians.
Yes.
Because they do something that most musicians don't have to do. I studied in the classical arena. With classical music, you're going to do whatever's written on that page. Whatever notes they tell you to sing, you're going to sing it. Whatever notes they tell you to play, you're going to play. Jazz is a perfect marriage, because the jazz musician understands the technicality of music. They can read, they can do whatever's written on that page, but they also are allowed to allow the spirit to take over. So that's where you get improvisation, because I can read what's written on the page. I'll play what's written on the page, but I'm going to put a little bit of me in there. There's going to be some spirit in it.
Yes. So back to this book that I was looking at, How to Listen to Jazz. It came up, it elaborated on the term improvisation. So that's exactly what you're saying it is?
Yes.
That's
Improvisation
you adding your
is,
flavor to it.
you could listen to, let's say, a standard song, a standard jazz song that every musician knows. Let's say All of Me, which is a standard song. A lot of people know it because of Dinah Washington, because of Frank Sinatra, different people like that, Ella Fitzgerald. Quite a few people have sang it. Quite a few people have played it. But you can listen to 5 different musicians. You can listen to Monk play it. You can listen to Duke play it. You could listen to Pops play it. Louis Armstrong, who was a resident of Queens for many, many years. You can listen to Billie Holiday sing it. They're all going to have their own interpretation, their own way that they embrace the song. You'll hear the foundation of the song, so you'll know that's the song that they're playing or singing. But they bring their own experience to the table. And that experience comes through by means of improvisation.
Wow.
So it's and that's why jazz, and that's why I say jazz is American classical music. We gave America its only form of classical music, and they call it jazz. because it's not just they as with anything that we've created artistically, they try to make it seem like, oh, it's just osmosis, you just have it. No, the average musician has studied. They understand this music from a technical standpoint. I don't know too many
Yes.
musicians that don't give at least 2 to 3 hours a day to their instrument,
Wow.
whether
That
it's
makes me think about the it makes me think about the professional revolutionary and how the professional revolutionary has to spend a lot of times reading, analyzing social conditions to
yes,
decide what is best in terms of what's happening amongst the people. And now we look at what's
yes,
happening now with Palestine. We look at what's happening with what the president is doing regarding those who have the right to be here and not. You have to combat that. You have to make sure you paying attention to details of what's happening, and that's the same thing that jazz does. You have improvisations, you have tempos, you have rhythms, you have a
yes.
language that's being expressed, and that language is being presented to people. People are internalizing that, and they're deciding what they're going to do at this current time.
And it
Um,
goes across, it goes across barriers, it goes across lines, languages. We look at a Nina Simone, who was a
yes,
true revolutionary, unapologetically. You know, you look at people like that. You look at a Max Roach. You look at these people when he wrote the Freedom Suite. They were dealing with a situation, and they did it the best way they knew how. We use what God has given us to speak, whether it's
wow,
through our fingers with the piano, whether it's a Fred Hampton on the mic, whether it's a
yes,
Nina on her piano. It
yes,
We use what the creator, what God has given us to speak on behalf of those who can't speak for themselves. I just came back
mm,
from Argentina a couple weeks ago. Argentina is a
yes,
Spanish speaking country. But there's one thing I can say about music. I was on the bandstand with musicians that spoke very little English. I spoke very little Spanish. But when we got on that bandstand, we understood each other. And in
wow.
turn, the audience understood us.
So the
And
music
so,
is a universal language.
oh my gosh, yes. I tell people there's only one gift that God has given man that's greater than music, and that's love. When you think about it, you don't even have to be a musician. When you're going through something, a breakup, what do? You play music.
Yes,
It puts you in a specific mood. When you want to work out, what do people do? They put their AirPods in their ears. It puts them in a certain mood. There are times when, and this is gonna sound crazy, I guess, coming from me. But there's a specific song by Jizza that I love to listen to when I need to get in a certain mindset.
wow,
So
absolutely.
music takes you somewhere spiritually. I tell people it's the untangible tangible, because while you can't touch it with your hands, you still feel it.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's the same thing with, and it's timeless. I can listen to revolutionaries, Elaine Brown, you name them. I can listen to
Yes.
them and still feel the same fire. The Minister Farrakhan, I can still listen to lectures that he gave in the past and still seem to feel that same fire, that same energy that I felt, that must have been felt when he made that lecture, when he made that speech. Or Marcus Garvey, you could read the words on a page that he may have written, may have said, that were dictated, but you still feel that same fire. And that's why I say, and I know you would have to, I'm pretty sure you've had this happen to you, where you may have gotten on the podium to address an audience, and you felt yourself saying things that you weren't even intending on saying, but something
Yes.
flowed
Absolutely.
through you. you know it's that divine inspiration that flows through us, where we're no longer just a person, we're a vessel now. We're a conduit. We're sending energy. We're sending frequency. We're sending waves to people. We're inspiring them.
Yeah, and as you talk about inspiration, I'm thinking about you mentioned Max Roach, um uh, you mentioned somebody else too, but I know that there was this one album that I came across called it was called Power to the People by Joe
Mm,
Henderson. And that album really blew my mind because of, I think Herbie Hancock was on it, but the time that it came, I think it came out in 1969, and I'm
uh-huh.
thinking about the time of the Black Panther Party and what his position was regarding his contribution to what was going on at the time, and it made me appreciate the album more, and it made me understand the position that everybody has to play. Because I always say that
Yes.
if you're an artist, draw a picture. If you're a musician, write a song, address the issues at the time, play your role, give people inspiration to fight. Because one of the things that I would do prior to going out and organizing people, I would listen to Fred Hampton, and he spoke with
Mm,
a certain rhythm, right? And also, I would
yes.
listen at times. I would listen to John Coltrane, Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
because that song
Mm-hmm.
itself, reflecting what happened to those beautiful Black young ladies. Um, Allowed me to be inspired to fight harder, to endure, because that's one of the things that the music does. It allows you to endure.
Yes.
Like today is one day, tomorrow's another day. You must fight until the objective is one, which is our liberation. So with musicians, when they're making music, what gives you that inspiration in terms of what music you hear to do what you do to play your role in our liberation struggle?
Uh, you basically live life. What I feel right now,
Okay.
I won't feel 20 minutes from now.
Yes.
Um, there are times you may see something on the news, you may hear of something that has happened, and it will inspire you to write or to do or to listen. Um, and so I think with inspiration, inspiration comes from different, various veins. Various, you may look at, like you were talking about Fred Hampton and Coltrane. You're talking about the spoken word and you're talking about instrumentalism, but they inspire
Yes.
you to do what you have to do. And I think that's where divine intervention comes in, because you'll be led to that inspirational point, that inspirational person, that thing that was said, that note that was played, that sends you there. Normally when I get on stage, I try to be as empty as possible. Um, and I try not to get in the way of what needs to happen. Now, you'll rehearse specific songs and you'll figure out what keys you want to play them in or you want to sing them in. Um, but you let go and you let the divine take over. You know, like I
Mm.
said, there are
Yes.
times when I'm
Yes.
feeling a specific thing and I listen to Jizza. There are times when I feel something specific and I listen to James Cleveland. There are times when I may feel something and I'll listen to Celia Cruz or Benny Moré, or it depends. There are times when I listen to. Yesterday, I was in a mood where I listened to music from Cuba. I don't speak Spanish, but you
Wow.
feel the passion, you feel the emotion, you feel the spirit in which they're playing or they're singing the music. So you get it, even if you can't understand every word that they're saying. You get what they're saying without really understanding. You understand from a spiritual aspect. And I think that's what happens with every revolutionary, with any revolution. It begins from a
Yes.
divine inclination. It begins with the divine,
Like I'm
you know.
conscious, therefore I must act.
Yes, 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 yes. And it goes with a universal law. For every action there's a reaction, but there must first be an action
Yes.
in order for a reaction to take place, you know. And I believe that the first action happens with the divine, with thought. You know, you see
Absolutely.
something happening. I remember this changed my whole perception. I believe I was 21 and I got to see Bobby Seale in person for the first time. He came to Rutgers
Oh,
University in Newark,
wow.
New Jersey. And I'm sitting there and I'm just learning about African American history, and I don't know much about the history of our people. And to listen to
Yes.
him talk about how he and Huey P. Newton started the Black Panther Party. They saw an injustice and they figured, okay, what do we do about this? You
Yes.
know? And they sat down and they wrote down, I think it's the 10-point plan. Um
Yes.
and they started going, and look at what happened. You had a whole movement that started as a result of that. You look at Marcus Garvey, who came over on the ships from Jamaica and wanted to talk to, they say it was Booker T. Washington. He never got to meet him, I believe, in person, but he wanted to understand this whole Pan-African movement. You know, you look at I'm in the Nation of Islam, but you look at the Most
Mm.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad. One man starts a whole movement. And from that, you
Yes.
get the Nation of Islam. It starts with action, especially young people, and I don't know how many young viewers you have, your demographic, but I encourage young people, do something. Do something. Never think
Absolutely.
what you're doing is insignificant. Every great movement has started with one person
Wow.
realizing something needs to be done. It
Absolutely. I
all
think I
starts
think
with
that one
one.
person decided that, I'm tired of waiting for somebody else to do something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to take a position of being accountable for how we should respond to the attack on us. Because when I
Exactly.
look at all aspects of our culture, there's a continuous attack. That's what thing that the book Free Jazz was talking about. You had the corporations coming and marketing and packaging jazz and using it for their corporate interests. And that was the a way that jazz fought back by having this term free jazz, which it was about the culture.
And
It
you
was
know what?
about expressing that.
And make no mistake, when jazz started, just like when hip hop started, it was
Yes.
frowned upon by everyone. But we
Wow.
embraced it. And I think that's what frustrates me now. We seek for the approval of an oppressive
Mm.
force. Hip
Wow.
hop was started, we were doing it in the parks, and we didn't care about Sony sponsoring us, or having, any major contributor. We didn't care about that. We were doing what felt good to us. This was a form of release for us. This was something that was given to us by God to help us through our struggle. Now, once it became monetized, and that's the thing, when we because they thought hip hop was gonna die, just like they thought jazz was gonna die. And when it didn't die, it was like, oh. And when it became popular, you go through these phases. So let's look at the parallels of jazz and hip hop. So it starts, oh, it's just poor black people and Puerto Ricans, and oh well, that's trash music. So they trash it, but we keep going, right? We still enjoy it because this is us. This is our culture. This is our fight. This is our struggle. This is how we enjoy each other. Pretty soon they go, wow, that's pretty catchy. But it's
It's
it's not all
talking
that.
about our political prisoners who were on the front line, who are on the front line, who need to come home. So
I'm sorry, I lost you again. Oh boy. Okay, hopefully we'll get him back. Um, lost him. I don't know what happened, but I guess I'm going to sign out. I'm waiting to hear back from Mr. Brown. We'll give it another minute to see if he's able to come back on. Okay.
Ever see Indians live proud and free before the oppressor's slavery? Black people live proud and free. How many more? Tell me now. How many more? Don't you stand on the sidelines and say you're not involved. Don't try to convince yourself that these problems don't affect you at all. Because now it's Lebanon, Azania, Grenada. How many more? Tell me now. How many more? Don't you stand on the sidelines and watch your children